Hi, everyone. I want to take some time to explain to you the research assignment for this course. Once you get the link from Schoology, you'll be taken to this page. Please make a copy of it, rename it, and share it with me. These first two letters are based on the course, so just double check that might be different on your course. Just rename it, please, and share it right away. I like this so I can actually comment on it as well as carefully read your research. So a couple things you need to do, and this is ongoing throughout the course. First thing you need to do is just give me this information on your classroom because everybody's going to be have different interests when it comes to research. Secondly, I just wanted to explain the kind of things I'd like to do with this particular research assignment. I'd like to keep it as open as I can. I'm also going to use a gamified strategy. And in the gamified strategy, I'm going to arrange the assignment so that you have some choice in how you actually carry it out. So different people can actually do this different ways. If you read these over, you'll kind of see these being reflected in the rest of the assignment. So here's what you do. As you progress through the class, do research. Sources that you read or watch or listen to should be related to the course content in a specific module, but should also be related to your specific interests in the content and or your specific course grade level classroom situation. So in any particular model, there'll be a specific sort of focus in the content of that module. Make sure your research is related to that. But then definitely make sure it's completely related to things that you can find useful in your own classroom. So you don't need to do a specific number of sources per module. You might like one module more than another and want to do more research there. So there's no particular number that you need for any particular module. So here's the gamified part. I'd like to encourage you to select certain kinds of research. And as well as kind of get you to spread out the types of research that you look into. I also would like you to become more critical about the things that you find in your research. So notice that these different items, these different types of sources, are actually worth different numbers of points. So you're going to, throughout the course, you're going to try to gather 20 points, any way you want to based on these point levels. So scholarly articles, I'm encouraging you to work with those because some teachers don't really have a lot of experience with them. Wilson College expects graduate students to be familiar, and in particular, if you're doing the MET, it is very important for the capstone courses. So they're very interested that you have a good understanding of how to analyze and find scholarly articles. So I'm not going to leave you hanging on this. I have a page for it. So if you look over here on under resources, you'll see that I have linked to a page, and on that particular page, should it load up? Whoop, not this one. I give you all sorts of information on how to do that. Some teachers are more familiar than others. So these are reasons why they're important. So read through that. But also, I kind of give you a couple examples of how I particularly find research. You can just look things up, but often you find research through other things. So here I show you through an article actually how people find research or how I found research. I give you a couple of examples of where you can find it. I encourage you to go to Wilson College Library first, and I have a video right here which will explain exactly how to do that. So I will model in that video how to find scholarly work using the Wilson Library. I also use Google Scholar. I also use Google Books. I'd like to try to get you to try to start off with Wilson Library first. You may find that the easiest. For all of your sources, you do need to cite an APA format. This particular link, Purdue OWL, will actually show you details on that, but many students tend to use something like EasyBib or Citation Machine. Okay? So back here, I also like to encourage you to try out podcasts. So you get 2 points for the first one you do, and then afterward, 1 point each. So I keep a podcast list, which is linked right here, as a way to get started. I listen to podcasts a lot. It's what I do when I exercise. It's what I do when I drive. There's an explanation here of what podcasts are all about. There is a little bit of a warning. Just be sure that before you use a podcast in class, you're sure that it's okay to use with students. They aren't necessarily meant for students only. So I've just put a bunch of these in here with descriptions. You may have heard of some, you may have not heard of some. There's descriptions that tell you kind of what's going on. There's something, most of the ones I've listed here are very interdisciplinary. So they might be about technology or history, or they might be about education or psychology, all kind of things that kind of go with being a teacher. And then, because it's almost impossible to list every education podcast, I have added a link here which shows a large compendium of other podcasts. If I notice in your sources that you discover one or two that are really good, I will actually pop them in here and I'll save these for later. So back to research. That's how the points go. In each modules, in many of my modules, I will have a suggested link section. So I'll just have some additional resources you can use. If you're going to cite one of those or use one for research, please use no more than one of those. But you can basically find it's sort of a starting point to find your own research. Down here at the bottom, because I'd really encourage you to be think very critically about the sources you use, I'd like you to maybe try, this is totally up to you, find a source that is actually from a company or business. Find a source that is kind of questionable, so not necessarily a good source about the topic. And then in your description, critically analyze the source. For example, should we consider the point of view or purpose of a source before taking it seriously? So this will obviously be sources that we can be critical of because you'll actually list the source type. Okay, so do any order of those you want. Again, do more or less in each module, totally up to you, and full credit for 20 points. Full credit is 20 points. Now, as you go through the course and do this, I'm going to look over your research each time a module is due, and I'll comment when I see stuff that needs comment. I won't put the grade in for each module, though. Okay, I won't do that until the end of the course because everybody's going to be doing a different number of sources for each module. So the grade will still be in the grade book. I mean, there won't be a grade there, and that'll probably be good because it'll kind of remind you that you need to consider the research assignment. As you enter your sources on this page, which I'll show you how, please, once you do one or two of them, copy and paste them onto the resource sharing page for the course. Feel free to check that page to learn about sources collected by other participants. So as we do research, many people are very curious of what other people are finding. And so this research sharing page will do that for you. So when you input your research assignment, it should look roughly like this. So this is my generic example. How many points? Which module does it link to? What's the source type? Remember, the source types are up here in this table. What is the link? So I prefer to have link text because especially when I go check out your link or when somebody in the course goes and checks it out on the sharing page, it's much easier for them to deal with. Here's the APA citation and then a description or analysis. What questions do you have about the source? How could it be useful to you? Any critical description of the source that goes in that particular box. Now, when you're ready to share it over to the resource sharing page, here's the way to do it, just so it doesn't seem too complicated. Just highlight this part. Okay, so basically I'm getting that stuff. We don't really need the points. And then copy. So you can do your edit copy, your Control-C or Command-C, and then pop over to the resource sharing page. And I've already popped one in here, but just go to a blank spot and hit paste. And it'll just bring the whole thing over. If you want to, because it kind of pastes funny, you can just stretch it out there. Okay, so as the course goes on, course participants can check out this page. Anybody can pop things on, and they can find other things, find out what each other are doing. All right, so I've given you lots of space. If you need to make more space, go ahead and do it. But different people are going to have different numbers of resources based on the point system. So as for anything in this course, if you have a question about anything I was talking about, please just ask. Just send me an email. Thank you.